Parker. This is Kristen Ishihara. We're with the Ishihara and Parker Law Firm here in Longview, Texas. And today's topic is, what do we do when someone passes away? When we lose a client, when we lose a family member, what are we going to do? What steps are we going to take? So, Kristen, obviously emotional time. People aren't thinking clearly. It's just hard. So we've put together sort of a list. We kind of go through it every time with everyone. But what are we advising folks to do?
Yeah, so we thought it would just be helpful to have kind of some practical guides for things that you'll need to take care of. Maybe not the first day, maybe not the second day. You know, those are going to be for grieving and for funeral plans. But just kind of to help navigate the process. A lot of times it just seems overwhelming. What do I do? This person has a house, they have stuff, they have a car, they have a bank account, they have income still coming in and expenses still coming out. Gosh, like how do I prioritize this list? So a lot of times what we help clients do is make a list of just, okay, these are things you are going to have to do, but we can help you get it down in one spot, make a helpful guide, and here's priority-wise what we're going to take care of here. So we have actually a guide on our website that gives kind of some general tips on how to do that. So we're just going to go through that today. Some things may not apply to you. Other things may apply that we don't mention here that are specific to your situation. But just wanted to give kind of a helpful guide on some place to start. So if you did lose a loved one, here's where maybe we need to start. And Chris, who are we talking to? You know, who are the people that we need to make the list?
Yeah. So when we're thinking of this, usually it's the adult children taking care of their parent. That's the traditional situation we're looking at. Though of course, deaths come at all times in unexpected ways. But the easiest one to imagine and that I see over and over is I have a loved one at the hospital or maybe in the nursing home and they have passed away and the client comes in, is kind of looking for steps. And of course, all the times we want to start with the easiest, things that are on them. We want to secure the jewelry, we want to secure the wallet, make sure we find that social security card, driver's license, credit cards. These things tend to just go missing. If you have a loved one that's in a facility that's transferred to the hospital, where'd their wallet go? Where'd their keys go? Where's their car parked at? I mean, these are just basic things that often get lost in the shuffle that you want to secure the things that are on their person. So rings, wallets, keys, cards, Social Security cards, Medicare cards, those kind of things that are the first thing that I can think of. If it's important enough to have on their person, it's important enough for you to put your hands on.
Yeah, and past that even, securing the residence, making sure that that's locked and taken care of, securing their automobile if that's in a different place, making sure to secure the larger pieces of property as well. It's not unusual, even in good family situations, that other family members will, come to the house looking for personal property that maybe they feel is theirs or that they would want. And if you are going to be the executor through the court process, then it is actually your fiduciary obligation to secure those items for the estate of the person that passed away and make sure that none of those go missing. So even in the best of families, a lot of times, kids will have in mind something they want and will help themselves if they have access to the house. So just securing all the property of the person that passed away is an important first step that you need to take.
We know that when we lose someone, the funeral homes are going to be involved in our lives. We're going to be talking to them, and they're very good also at working through these processes. And they'll ask you some specific questions like, hey, how many death certificates do you want? Do we need death certificates? And the answer to that, of course, is?
Well, it depends. I think a good number usually is 10. It's cheaper to order a larger amount from the funeral home directly than it is to have to go later and get them from the county clerk in the place of death. So they do encourage you to get more. But if you think about what you'll need them for, an original death certificate will be needed to present to basically every financial institution that you'll be dealing with. So if you have life insurance, you'll have to send them one. If you have a bank, you'll have to give them one. If you have a financial advisor, you'll have to give them one. So it kind of depends on the decedent how many you need, but I think we generally say 10 to 20 is more than enough. Most people end up with more than they needed, but it is much cheaper to get them on the front end. So typically 10 to 20 is probably a good guess for that.
About this point, someone goes to the funeral home, they're kind of looking at the burial cremation process. Hopefully there's a policy already in place, so there's some kind of death guide. And then you probably need to start saying, well, wait a minute, do we need an attorney? And these cases you shouldn't be making that determination. The attorney should be making that determination for you. You should be saying, hey, I need to talk to a probate attorney, an elder law attorney, someone who knows the process to determine whether there's a step that I need to take.
Yeah, and one thing you'll probably run into at the funeral home is just how are you going to pay for the funeral? So this is one thing you can kind of do on the front end as well. But the person that's passed away, they can have pre-planned and funded their funeral, in which case it's very simple for you when you make those arrangements. Otherwise, the funeral home, is going to need to be paid generally before they make the arrangements. So that's either you are paying for that funeral and hoping to get reimbursed later from funds that you have access to. Sometimes the person that passed away had life insurance, and if you are the beneficiary, now you have to be the beneficiary, you can assign those proceeds to the funeral home, and the life insurance will pay the funeral home and then give you anything remaining. Sometimes maybe you are a joint owner on mom or dad's bank account, and like we've talked about in other videos, what that would mean is that the bank account did not freeze at mom's death, so you would have access to write a check out of there for the funeral home. What if, though, Chris, I was not a joint owner, mom owned the account just by herself, and I'm just listed as a beneficiary? Will I be able to use that for her funeral?
You probably won't be using for funeral because they're going to want a death certificate before you have access to those funds. There is a process you have to go through. So that's the difference between being a co-owner, a beneficiary, or a power of attorney only on mom's account. What might have some benefits before death will have some consequences after death if not done in the certain method that works best for y'all.
Right. So this is obviously kind of before death advice. If someone's passed away, it is what it is at that point, and you're just dealing with it. But if possible, you personally, and probably for a parent, want to think through, if I passed away, how is my funeral getting paid for?
That's right. And one of the good things is the funeral homes are so great at, if you are yourself choosing your own funeral, paying for in advance, you can list and go through a million options that your family will be confronted with at death, that they will have to decide before you. Where's the service? What are the songs? Where are the order? Are there flowers? I mean, it goes on and on and on. And you can do these things in advance, but if you have not, that will be falling onto the children and the close friends and family.
Yeah, or spouse.
Or spouse, obviously.
Yeah, so the next item on the list would really be kind of a deeper dive into everything. So, if that person was living at home, doing a more thorough search of the home, so you're going to try and locate any estate planning documents they had. You're going to, go through the fridge and throw out old food. If they have pets or other things that they're responsible for, we're making arrangements for that. And then we're also going to try and locate any financial institution. So as you're going through the house, it would be great if the person that passed away had done some of this for you, right?
Yep.
Talk about maybe a kindness that person could have put in place.
A death guide, these are the things I own. I usually tell my clients, hey, look, we have this binder, we've got the will, this is great. There's nothing in here that's Social Security related, there's nothing in here that's state secrets, but if you would put in a document that lists your accounts, where they're located, account numbers, estimated value, life insurance, where they can find them, who's your insurance agent? I mean, there's just so many things that you probably have told your kids 100 times. But when you pass away, they will not remember the things you told them. But if you have it written out, you will make their life so much easier.
Yeah, I'll tell you the way that I do this personally is I keep a binder, and I try and keep a kind of updated statement. So I have all my life insurance in there. I have every bank account. I try annually to update it. But if I passed away, someone could go there and see every account I have. They'd know every bank to call. They'd know every account number. The amounts may not be up to date, but they know everybody that they needed to notify because I have it in one spot. A lot of times what happens is if someone passes away, sometimes unexpectedly, their loved one has absolutely no idea where to start. They don't know where they banked. They don't know if they had life insurance. They think they had a retirement account because they worked a long time. So what happens is that child or spouse kind of collects the mail. And they're just hoping that at some point in time they'll get a written statement that they can follow up on. But yeah, it can be a true kindness to, I have some clients that call them death boxes. It doesn't have to be a scary name, but if you would maintain kind of a running schedule of assets or even just lists of places they would need to call, that would be really helpful as a starting point.
Every one of those institutions will be limiting access when they find out you passed away, just like they're supposed to protect your assets, but it certainly will slow down the process.
Yeah, so at that point, we need to be locating hopefully the original will and making an appointment with, glad to make an appointment with us, make an appointment with an estate planning or probate attorney of your choice to talk about whether the will needs to be probated. Ideally, you locate the original will. Some helpful tips then before death are make sure your executor has access to and knows where your original will is.
Yep.
So if it's located at the house, they need access to it. If it's in a locked safe, if it's at a bank, they need to be on the signature card with the key so that they can access that at your death. But making sure that that person knows where it is and has access to it is very important.
Now, the one original will would be very helpful.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So the next on our list here would be starting to notify places. So a lot of times people think they need a death certificate before they can call and notify life insurance or a financial institution, and that's not the case. So if I were a beneficiary or child of someone that passed away and I were calling to notify them, what's the process there, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, so some of this will be done on its own, or they will find out eventually, but there's really no reason to wait. I know that if I'm dealing with a spouse who's passed away, I would encourage the surviving spouse to contact the Social Security Administration to get the ball rolling because there's a good chance their income will be changed or adjusted. There's really no reason to wait. Social Security will eventually find out through the funeral home, but I'm still going to start that process because I want to get the ball rolling. When it comes to life insurances, their job is to make sure the correct people are paid at the correct time. Well, that's a process, and I want to get it rolling. If I know that it's State Farm or whatever, I'm going to call them up and say, hey, my loved one passed away. We'll be following up with death certificates when we have them. Look for the notice in the paper, but what do you need from me? You might as well get the life insurance rolling, definitely get Social Security rolling. Any other pensions, they all have processes. You want to get those rolling. What you don't want to do is have payments come in, have to get pulled back, readjusted. You just like to take care of it as fast as possible. They will start their own wheels spinning, but you need to let them know. I think that's I would not want to wait. I'd want to start the process.
Yeah, if you're able to get a bank statement of the person that passed away, your list of people to notify is going to include any income that person has. So if they have another pension, VA, Social Security, if you need to make an application as a surviving spouse, you want to notify them. Any expenses that are going out. So if they have supplemental insurance, that place needs to be notified. There are other expenses that you might need to notify. Everybody will have kind of their own process. So if the individual has life insurance and you call to notify them of death, they will probably not give you any information, but they will mail out a claim packet form to the listed beneficiary at their last known address. So if you're the beneficiary, great, that packet shows up in your mail. You'll have some items to fill out. You will have to return it with a death certificate, but you will have started the ball rolling, which is helpful so that you can get all those things in place. There's really no need to wait to notify to get that death certificate. You kind of want to have a list. There's some things, obviously, priority-wise you would do first, but even all the way down to utility companies and other things, eventually you will be notifying all those people to either switch names or to shut off that expense.
That's right. Cable bill's in your spouse's name. Your spouse has passed away. You need to contact them and move it in your name. Otherwise, it'll be a hassle in the future.
Yep, absolutely. So let's say we're a couple of weeks down the road, and it's my mom that's passed. There's nobody in the house. So what do I do next?
Well, we're going to start thinking about what to do with the contents of the home. We're going to start thinking about what to do with the home. I don't know how many children have in our scenario, but there's steps that can be taken. We've already secured the residence. We've already made sure it's not going to be destroyed or wasted, but then we're going to start gathering assets, start selling assets if that's what the attorney has advised us by doing an estate sale. We'll start moving forward the probate process. We'll start looking at whether we're going to keep the home, sell the home, deed the home. We got to know those things, but that's all going to take the attorney.
Yeah, so let's assume that the individual has met with the attorney and you are going to probate the will. You're the executor. So you begin that process. You apply to probate the will and be appointed the executor. If it were me, in that situation, I would also be engaging a realtor to look at selling the home who can help me with that because depending upon the time frame, which the lawyer can tell you based on the local court there, how long it will take to probate a will. Here in Gray County, as long as everything else is kind of simple, I would say about 30 days or less, so it's not an extended time period, at least here in Longview. And so I'm free, really, to look at estate sale companies if I need to, and I'm also free to start looking at having a realtor help me with getting the ball rolling and getting those things out. If I have siblings and the will says that I'm splitting personal property, I'm probably going to arrange a time where we're all at the house where we can agree on, okay, this person wants this person wants this. So that's usually a step in the process as well, but that would depend on what the person's will said too.
And if you're the loved one who knows you have multiple children and there's multiple things each one wants, you could really make their life easier by either pre-giving it before death, these items, or making sure that your will has a memorandum provision and that you have filled out the memorandum. Sally gets the walking horse, Jamie gets the bed. If you know there's things that the little knickknacks, I'm not talking about huge items, but the emotionally important items, if you know certain people need them, please fill them out for your loved ones so you don't have kids arm wrestling over knickknacks and Christmas trees and stuff.
The benefit of a good estate plan is that you have removed the potential for conflict by clearly lining it out yourself.
Setting expectations. That's right.
Yes, absolutely. And doing it in a legal way that cannot be contested.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes. So let's say that we've set up the estate. I'm the executor. I've sold the house. Now that the proceeds from the house come into my estate account.
Yep.
So I'm operating an estate. Now anything else I sell or collect that comes to the estate and not directly to a beneficiary comes into my pot. I'm in general going to pay any expenses off the top. So probate, if there's expenses in selling the house, other things, I'm going to make sure and talk to a CPA and find out if there is an estate tax filing that's required. That'll depend on a lot of different things. And then I'm going to do all the things that I would do as part of the probate process, which we kind of have a separate checklist for that we're not going to get too far into. What are some other things that we might need to do just generally?
Well, one thing that I always enjoy doing, just because I like to do it in my personal life, is every once in a while I go check Texas unclaimed funds. You never know what's down there. There's
Usually find something.
One real site and one fake site. Make sure you go to the real site. I sent my parents to the fake site once. So go to the real site, see what's in there, type your name, look at some of the people in there, see the addresses, check for your loved one who passed away, because that's part of the process that you can actually find things that have been paid that never actually got returned when they should have.
Yeah.
I do enjoy that.
Yeah. I think it's Claim It Texas.
Is it? Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, that is fun. You should do that now, really.
Yeah.
Kind of a fun process. Let's see. So other things we would need to do would really, one thing that is important is if your loved one had a retirement account and they are over the age of 73, you need to check and make sure that their required minimum distribution came out already during their lifetime. Otherwise, they might have some that they still need to pull out that year. So when you check with a financial institution, that's something that they can probably assist you with and making sure that you know that that's been done. But mostly, I would say the work is making a list of people to notify and then working through that list and then using your probate attorney to help you through the probate process.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So I think that's it for today, guys. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.